Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. Now we begin with the week with a big question. After an Indian origin Prime Minister, could the UK be looking at a probable Pak origin PM? The Epstein saga has not only rocked American politics but seems to be leading to the unseating of the British Premier. Sir Keir Starmer faces the most difficult time of his Prime Ministership for the appointment of Peter Mandelson as the UK ambassador to the United States of America. Mandelson's name emerged in the Epstein files, resulting in his resignation from the post as ambassador. But this is not over. What followed was a series of resignations, culminating in the demand for Starmer to step down. Starmer's closest ally, Morgan McSweeney, too has resigned. McSweeney, former chief of staff, claims to have taken full responsibility for the advice to hire Lord Mandelson. The Prime Minister is in the centre of a political storm after admitting he was aware of the former peer's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein even after his conviction for child sex offences. Earlier, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer launched a fierce attack on his former US Ambassador Peter Mandelson, seeking to assuage anger from across British politics, saying he was sorry he had believed his lies before appointing him. If Starmer were to step down, among all the names, Shabana Mahmood is likely to claim the top job. Mahmood is the current Home Secretary who was effectively endorsed by former Prime Minister Tony Blair last year. Mahmood, a senior leader in the Labour Party, if appointed to the top post, will become UK's first Muslim Prime Minister. Now, India is pushing back against criticism over its emerging trade deal framework with the US, making it clear that energy security and farmer interests are non-negotiable. New Delhi says Russian oil was never a structural dependence, and while energy trade options remain flexible, sensitive agricultural sectors will stay protected. Here's a report.
With the framework agreement for a trade deal with the United States of America done, government officials are pushing back firmly on criticism in some quarters, making it clear that India's energy security and farmer interests are completely non-negotiable. At the heart of the debate is India's sovereign right to decide where it buys crude oil from versus US President Donald Trump's recent executive order, which has set up a high-level panel to monitor whether India resumes directly or indirectly importing Russian oil. India's response is simple. Russian crude was never a structural dependency. In 2019, Russia accounted for just about 2% of India's crude oil imports. It was only in post-COVID years that imports grew, peaking at 40% in 2023. Since then, imports have tapered down to around 33% of India's total imports in 2025. The Russian oil imports spike post-2022 was driven by deep discounts, freight advantages, and guaranteed availability. And the government says its options are open now. One of them is cheap. The recent unsanctioned Venezuelan crude, which is now flowing back into global markets. Trump has guaranteed that this oil will be available for India. Officials underline that India's crude oil refiners are commercially agile, capable of switching sources without disrupting supply or prices at home. Monthly data already shows the shift. At the same time, India is signaling openness to trade in energy with the United States, but on market terms.
Our estimate is that in the next 5 years, we will need to import about $2 trillion of energy products, that's crude oil, LPG, LNG, precious metals, ICT products used in AI, in quantum computing, the semiconductors, the chips of NVIDIA, for example. Indian importers won't have an advantage if they import from the US. Aircraft alone, aeroplanes, spare parts and engines of aircraft alone, we will require anywhere between $80 and $90 billion in the next 5 years, could even cross $100 billion. Now, in that situation, my approach is very simple. For these set of products which I have to buy in any case, the more the merrier. I would like there to be a competition amongst suppliers in the world so that India gets the best deal. And that is good for Indian consumers, that's good for the Indian economy.
There's also been much ado about allowing US products into India's politically and economically sensitive agriculture sector in the trade deal as well. But the government insists it has drawn a clear red line. Sensitive agricultural sectors, the government says, are not open to unrestricted US imports. Wherever tariffs have been reduced or eliminated, safeguards remain, including physical quotas and even minimum import prices. California almonds, already imported into India, have price thresholds to protect domestic growers. Washington apples are already allowed, but now have seasonal and volume limits. Distillers' dried grains, or DDG, used as animal feed, is subject to a quantitative cap of 5 lakh tons, around 10% of total domestic production. And soybean oil, imported since long but will now be further regulated through quotas to shield Indian farmers from any adverse impact on their price realization. India insists this is not protectionism, it is food security. There is also the ultimate safeguard, phytosanitary measures which ensures a minimum quality of the produce being imported.
और सबसे ज़्यादा चिंता इसी बात की थी कि हमारे प्रमुख अनाज सुरक्षित रहना चाहिए, वो सब के सब सुरक्षित रखे जाए। प्रमुख अनाज, प्रमुख फल, हमारे डेयरी उत्पाद, उनके लिए कोई द्वार अमेरिका के लिए नहीं खोला गया है।
As the year-old trade negotiations between India and the US draw to a climax, New Delhi's position is clear. On oil, India has flexibility, alternatives, and leverage. On agriculture, there will be no compromise with farmer livelihoods. In any case, only around half of these imports will be at zero duty. There are other levers that India has and can deploy would the need arise. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
As New Delhi and Washington announced the framework for an interim trade agreement, a map of India shared by Trump administration quietly took center stage and garnered our attention on social media. While releasing the trade deal details, the U.S. Trade Representative's Office in the United States of America released a map of India showing the entire Jammu and Kashmir, including Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, as part of India. Moreover, the map also included Aksai Chin, which China claims to be part of its territory. India has always maintained that the whole of undivided Kashmir was and will always remain an inalienable part of the country. On previous occasions, the maps released by the US or its State Department used to have a clear demarcation of the POK. However, the latest map released by Trump administration clearly thumbs nose at Pakistan's claims. The timing is also crucial as India and the US reset their ties as US slashed tariffs from 50% to 18%. India is on a business deal spree after the successful revival of relations with the United States that saw tariffs being slashed from 50 to 18%, along with the signing of the deal after the European Commission President's visit and the deal that was signed then. The recent visit of British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, another leader with great geopolitical value for India, was also on a state visit, and now we have Seychelles President Dr. Patrick Hermine, a country in the Indian Ocean, who also is visiting India till the 10th of February. Dr. Patrick Hermine met Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Issues ranging from bilateral ties, economic development, maritime security, and regional and international issues of mutual interest were discussed. Prior to Delhi, President Hermine was in Chennai and Mumbai. This is his first trip to India since assuming office in October 2025 and coincides with 50 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Jaishankar, who met the Seychelles president, lauded his support for India's Vision Mahasagar. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs described Seychelles as a key maritime neighbor, an important partner in India's vision and its commitment to Global South. And now I'm being joined by Pranay Upadhyay, my colleague who's joining me for more on this. Pranay, a very important visit when it comes to the Mahasagar vision of India. The fact that securing these waters are really important, and Seychelles could really play a very important role.
Absolutely, Geeta. Not only this visit of Seychelles President Patrick Khamenei to India, but if you see in last 1 week, the way Prime Minister Narendra Modi pursued the Mahasagar vision, he visited Malaysia recently. There, all the agreements to deepen the ties with the East Asian neighbor of India, because in the Indian Ocean region, Malaysia is a neighboring country to India, with whom we share historical and civilizational trade linkages as well. Within, after returning to Delhi, now Prime Minister was hosting the President of Seychelles, who was on India visit as part of his first state visit to any country after assuming office in October 2025. And this clearly shows that, in last 5-7 days, India has engaged with both the East and West neighbors in the Indian Ocean region, be it Malaysia or be it Seychelles. And if you see what India is trying to do, not only taking tangible and concrete measures to strengthen the Mahasagar vision, but also in terms of expanding the trade ties, in terms of expanding our security and defense cooperation, because Seychelles, a small island nation in East African region, or the Indo-Pacific region, is very crucial. India has already installed the coastal radar system at Seychelles. India is also pursuing a hydrographic mission there. The blue economy, the way we are cooperating with Seychelles. So there's clearly not even in terms of the line of credit or the money which we are offering to Seychelles, but in terms of the strong building of partnership. And this visit happened at a time when both India and Seychelles are celebrating the 50 years of their diplomatic partnership, and also 50 years of Seychelles independence as well, Geeta.
Right. Pranay, correct me if I'm wrong. Despite all the tensions that we've seen in terms of foreign policy, India is not losing focus when it comes to this area, this region, especially the Indian Ocean and securing these waters. Am I right in saying so?
Absolutely, Geeta. Your point on that, because if you see, the geography gives India a natural advantage as far as the Indo-Pacific region, especially the Indian Ocean region, because we have a unique position there. We have a great area of influence there. And if you see, India want to position itself as a first responder to all these neighbors, be it the crisis of of Malaysia, be it the crisis of Sri Lanka, be it the crisis of Maldives, to extending help to Seychelles, all these small island nations, and assuring the island neighborhood of India that in the Indian Ocean region, or IOR region, India is not only the first responder, but India is a kind of a partner on whom they can rely. They can build their partnership and make a more robust architecture in terms of security and defense partnership in the region.
Right. Pranay Upadhyay, thank you so much for joining us with the details on this very crucial visit. As Bangladesh election campaign comes to an end, the country looks forward to a new government and a new beginning after students' protests led to the ouster of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Bangladesh goes to vote on the 12th of February. Rival parties during their campaigning have invoked the 2024 uprising that ended the rule of Sheikh Hasina. Bangladesh Nationalist Party, that's BNP, led by Tariq Rahman, son of earlier Premier of Bangladesh, Begum Zia, who returned in December last year after 17 years in exile, is considered a frontrunner. Amid the rule of an interim government led by Muhammad Yunus, Bangladesh's election holds a lot of significance as the country in recent times have seen a lot of violence, including the killing of Hindus. Hasina's Awami League has been banned from contesting elections. Besides BNP, Jamaat-e-Islami too is contesting elections this time. Jamaat's chief, Shafiqur Rahman, is leading a coalition of Islamist parties with weighing scales as the symbol. Jamaat has accused the Sheikh Hasina government in the past of widespread repression. Jamaat is contesting election along with National Citizen Party, which was formed by student leaders who spearheaded the uprising.
Whoever will be by protecting the interest of the people of Bangladesh and our sovereignty, whoever will be or whatever contract will be suitable for my people, for my country, will have friendship with them. not with any particular country. How can I form a government with the political opponent, then who will be in the opposition? A government needs opposition to balance the whole thing, needs a good opposition. I think, I don't know what will be their seat number, but if they are in the opposition, I hope to have them as a good opposition.